A sustainable bioeconomy based on renewable resources helps to reach the Sustainable Development Goals and to strengthen global food security, saves resources, and creates new income opportunities.
From food to energy, cosmetics, chemicals, and even tourism, we can now create high-value byproducts and services. But bioeconomy also strengthens agriculture and food systems. Bioeconomy lets us boost productivity and sustainability in biomass production.
I have helped farmers in my community reduce post-harvest losses by 85%. This is not just about technology, it's about empowering communities to fight food insecurity while protecting our planet.
Bioeconomy is recognized as a driving force for transformation economic growth in global agendas like G20, Global Bioeconomy Summit, and now GFFA.
There are multiple stakeholders and stepping stones to get to the G20, and we are looking forward to engaging with partners at the GFFA in January this coming year.
I'm delighted to see you all at the GFFA to discuss how a global sustainable bioeconomy contributes to strengthening global food security and implementing the right to food.
Good morning. Bonjour. Guten Morgen. Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, Agrarminister.
Agricultural ministers, representatives of international organizations, excellencies. Mrs. Ubali-Joro, delegates of the International Young Farmers Forum. Good morning. In this typical Berlin weather, many of you have already arrived before and have attended the Global Forum on Food and Agriculture. Others of you have just arrived. You are coming from more than 70 states in order to participate in this important exchange. Berlin is hosting the world. A warm welcome to the world's largest informal meeting of agricultural ministers. You know that since last week we've had a case of foot and mouth disease. I can assure you that together with our federal lender, we will do everything in order to contain the disease. Fortunately, it has hitherto been limited to one farm. Colleagues, we will continue to inform you in a transparent manner on the status quo. My ministry is ready to answer all of your questions with regard to German products. I would like to ask you to implement the regionalization concept, which is a tried and tested instrument. Colleagues, it is a strong sign that so many nations are represented here, united by three common goals. Firstly, we want to make sure together that every person in the world has enough to eat. Secondly, we want to guide the agriculture and the bioeconomy in a way that the resources of our planet are protected so that future generations can use them too. And finally, my third point, we would like to improve the income opportunities for our farmers and peasants. Especially in these times, it is very important that we have personal meetings, that we discuss together and how we can achieve our goals together. As ministers for food and agriculture, we know that wars and conflicts destroy the basics of agriculture, that they hinder the access to food, and that they are essential drivers for hunger and poverty. It is all the more important that also people in crisis hotspots and in war areas have enough to eat. People around the world using hunger as a weapon is a break is breaking international law. Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine brings death and destruction not only to Ukraine, it also hinders the supply of many countries with grain from Ukraine, with dramatic consequences. This is another reason why Russia needs to stop this war. But this applies to all states around the world that using hunger as a weapon is totally unacceptable. Everywhere and without any exception. Without peace, many people do not have enough food, but without food, there is no peace. Therefore, we need to make sure that safe harvests will be possible in 10, 20 or 30 years. For this, our food system needs a comprehensive update. We need to further develop our agricultural economies, and we need to reduce the dependency on fossil resources, because the climate crisis and its consequences make our agricultural systems face immense challenges. Biodiversity is dwindling, ecosystems are getting under pressure, and the resilience of entire regions is going down. Those are hit hardest who can least afford it. This also applies for the consequences of extreme weather situation. The global population is growing, and at the same time the need for resources and food is growing. Our goal to achieve zero hunger by 2030 seems to me be more distant than ever. But these crises also bear an opportunity, because as agriculture ministers, we are dealing with agriculture and food on a daily basis. Therefore, we know that the bioeconomy offers a huge potential. It puts a stake on bio-based renewable resources. Therefore, we as agricultural ministers can set the course. We can leave our mark on the development of food and agriculture in a sustainable bioeconomy. Bioeconomy does not only reduce CO2 emissions, it also creates sustainable life support systems for millions of people. It offers solutions which combine sustainability and innovation, which reconcile the environment and the economy. New technologies can improve soil health and can save water resources. This also applies to traditional knowledge, which sometimes seems to be forgotten. We will learn more about this from you, Mrs. Ubali-Jordan. Countries such as Brazil and South Africa put the bioeconomy on the global agenda, and rightly so. The bioeconomy of G20 marks an important first step. Under the Brazilian G20 presidency, for the first time, high-level principles were agreed, principles on sustainable bioeconomy, and this is a milestone. Also, the results of the Global Bioeconomy Summit 2024 in Kenya creates new momentum. However, we need clear political framework conditions in order to further drive the bioeconomy at a global scale. From a German point of view, a sustainable bioeconomy is guided by a circular economy where resources are reused. These approaches do not only save resources, but they also open up new economic prospects. At the same time, there are conflicts of interests, for instance, between land use for food and energy. And the food first principle is the guiding principle for us here. Global food security and the realization of the right to food are on the top of the agenda. Education and knowledge transfer also play a central role. Farmers need to have access to new technologies and methods so that they are able to use them in practice. At the same time, we need to make sure that in particular the weakest people benefit from the opportunities of the bioeconomy. This is the only way to create a broad-based acceptance, hope. A one-size-fits-all model is inexistent. We are different here in the room, and the local conditions with their possibilities and challenges are also different. At the end, there is one goal that unites us. Every person in this world must have enough to eat. In order to achieve this goal, we need a global partnership which unites everybody. With this GFFA, we want to provide an important impetus to this exchange. Therefore, I am so happy that all ministers support the initiative of the FAO to build a global bioeconomy partnership. It is aimed at fostering cooperation beyond the existing G20 structures. It is aimed at creating a coherent global approach for a sustainable bioeconomy. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, as Ministers of Agriculture, we bear responsibility. Our decisions set the course for a sustainable agri-food policy. We are the ones preparing the ground in the literal sense and in a figurative sense. Bioeconomy is not just an option, it is a necessity. And now I'm looking forward to having an exchange with all of you. And I'm also looking forward to your keynote, dear Mrs. Ubali-Joro. You have the floor. Hallo allerseits.
Thank you so much for welcoming me to Berlin. It is a pleasure to speak with so many esteemed leaders. The story I want to tell today is about how a tree and forest-based global bioeconomy partnership can drive prosperity and peace. It is a big topic, and I will try to take us through it in my allotted time. As we face unprecedented climate change and resource depletion challenges, optimizing our use of renewable materials is increasingly crucial. If somebody could move my slides, I'm unable to do so. Oh, it's working. Okay, great. And the bioeconomy represents a fundamental shift in how we conceptualize economic activity, moving from fossil fuel-based to bio-based resources. It offers a pathway to sustainable and just development, both in rural and urban communities. Wood and tree products, as the most abundant bio-based materials on Earth, stand at the center of this transition. The bioeconomy addresses significant global challenges, and I'll take you through some of these in the next slides. It contributes to food security and sustainable agriculture through value addition to food, crops, livestock, and microbial products. It contributes to health and well-being. It contributes to bio-based industrial development, and it also contributes to sustainable energy. There are already over 50 biostrategies worldwide, but only during the past half year have we seen several evolving narratives. In fact, in October, I had the pleasure of speaking at the Global Bioeconomy Summit in Kenya. It highlighted groundbreaking research, advancements in bioeconomy policy, and innovative technologies that support the global transition towards sustainable economic developments. So the interest is growing. And speaking of growing, I know most of you are focused on agriculture. And so perhaps you're wondering why forests and trees should be of your concern. The reality is more than a quarter of Africa's tree resources grow in agricultural landscapes. These trees increase water infiltration, they reduce soil erosion, and they regulate microclimates, which creates more resilient farming systems. And they're grown and managed by farmers and farming communities. So let's look at one of the roles that wood plays in the bioeconomy as a global energy resource. We see this from the kitchens of rural communities in remote areas of sub-Saharan Africa to sophisticated power-generated plants, such as those within the Ngambi engagement landscape in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Since 2006, C4ICRAF has been working in this 8,000 square kilometer region, home to approximately 220,000 rural residents. Our efforts have attracted over 50 million euros in investment from various development partners. One key initiative is the construction of a biomass power plant these communities are able to access through an estimated 4,000 to 6,000 hectares of agroforestry plantations. And beyond providing day-to-day power to people, wood can contribute to solving and contributing to energy crisis. In Uganda, the largest refugee hosting country in Africa, with nearly 1.5 million people who mostly sought refuge from South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Burundi. The continued influx of refugees into the country confronts people in host landscapes with severe challenges, such as large volumes of biomass required for energy and building materials. In the specific context of refugee settlements, agroforestry is part of the solution. And within these humanitarian contexts, particularly in refugee and host community settlements, circular bioeconomy solutions can also be viable livelihood strategies. Key barriers include insufficient land, limited water availability, and familiarity with local context, which limits productivity. But relief, rehabilitation, and development can work hand in hand to reduce social and environmental pressures in refugee landscapes. And this improves the well-being of beneficiary households by creating opportunities for income generation, improving nutrition, and contributing to social cohesion. Now, perhaps the most significant opportunity for increasing wood utilization is the construction sector. Here is a picture of the 5,500 square meter passive building of the University of Kisangani in our Yangambi engagement landscape. The building has been instrumental in the training of over 250 forestry masters and 40 PhD students, and it also serves the environment. Cross-laminated timber produces 100 kilograms of CO2 emissions per cubic meter, while steel produces 2,800 kilograms and concrete 410 kilograms. Moreover, each cubic meter of mass timber stores approximately 750 kilograms of CO2, creating a double benefit: avoided emissions from conventional materials and carbon storage. Current cost analysis shows timber becoming increasingly competitive with conventional materials. Projects also report 20 to 40% construction times much faster compared to concrete and steel, and also require less labor. And let's not forget non-timber forest products. A truly African tree product that supports millions of women is shea nuts. If we look at women have harvested shea nuts from trees in the Savannah region for centuries, using the rich oils from the nut, also known as shea butter, for cooking and income generation. But we need investments in consolidating user groups to increase product quality and volume, and we need to enhance women's bargaining power and decrease their transactional costs. With increasing demand for shea nuts, youth and women must be invited to have an active voice in resource governance and harnessing digitalization. As you know, trees are a source of edible fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, and oils, and have traditionally been used to complement and diversify stable-based diets. By co-designing tailored food tree portfolios with farmers, we can address the challenges of seasonal food availability and micronutrient deficiencies, particularly vitamin A, C, iron, and folate. The portfolios combine locally available and culturally acceptable food trees that can be harvested consecutively to provide year-round nutritious food and additional income. To ensure that farmers access to the right trees, C4ICRAF holds some 82 genetically diverse fruit, medicinal, multi-purpose tree and shrub species in 51 field gene banks in 19 countries in different agroecological zones across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. There are 19,000 accessions or seed samples of almost 70 species in these gene banks, which are managed in collaboration with local partners. Given them access not just to the right trees, but to the resources and knowledge to plant the right trees in the right place for the right purpose. As I begin to close, I ask a question of governance. Who decides on land and what will be used, and which land will be used for agriculture or pasture or for sustainable bioeconomy? The reality is that a sustainable bioeconomy that does not leave anyone behind is already here and showing promise. So I urge you to use long-term landscape approaches to put communities in the driver's seat. We have the knowledge and the tools for change, and by following the guiding principles of bioeconomy, we can drive prosperity and peace globally. Thank you.
Ms. Ubalijoro, thank you very much for your pioneering, groundbreaking, impressive keynote. We talk about the future of our agriculture and the basis, the foundation of sustainable economy. So it is my great pleasure to welcome the young farmers from all of the regions and corners of our world, as well as the bioeconomy youth champions of the International Bioeconomy Council. I invited you today so you can show us your perspective and present us with your expectations, and you can rest assured we will take your declaration as a mission, as a task for us. The young farmers traveled to Berlin on Wednesday and they drafted their own declaration. So I would now like to ask the two delegates from the Young Farmers Forum, Ms. Mulugadi Madisha from South Africa and Mr. Qamar Abbas from Pakistan, for their contribution.
Thank you, Minister. My name is Qamar Abbas, and I am coming from Pakistan. And I will be going to start our statement from the International Young Farmers Forum. We are the future, and you need to listen. As young peasants and farmers, we demand efforts towards food sovereignty, and for people and for power to be with us as food producers. We all deserve healthy, culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods. This right can only be enjoyed by everyone if nation states realize the right of people to democratically define and control their own food and agriculture systems. We demand policies that protect our local markets from extractive global trade and call for a system that shapes markets based on equity, solidarity, and ethics of responsible production. We demand that governments enable critical policy shifts for structural change within the global economy to cut the emissions and safeguard biodiversity. As we are facing escalating hunger crisis worldwide, we as young farmers and peasants emphasize that the policy goal of agriculture is to grow food and sustainably develop our communities. We need equitable access to land and policy that centers the rights of those historically marginalized. We are contributing significantly to rural and national economies and to protecting biodiversity, landless peasants, improvised rural workers, women, youth, and indigenous peoples. We need comprehensive and inclusive agrarian reform that protects peasants and farmers from land grabs by corporations, and access to land is a fundamental right and necessary if we want to redistribute power to us producers and ensure a just future for agriculture. We need a new international conference on agrarian reform and rural development, IFAD +20, to take place in 2026 to implement the voluntary guidelines on responsible governance of tenure of land, fisheries, and forests, and the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Peasants and other people working in rural areas. We are concerned that the bioeconomy is a technological fix proposed by the industrialized and developed economies that does not address the real issues of stark global inequalities and violent and unequal power relations. We question whether the proposed shift will truly fight the underlying issues of extractive systems. Questions remain about the rights of small farmers and peasants in this framework and their sovereignty in the face of power of multinational corporations. We question whether the bioeconomy, when it is proposed in the current economic system, can ever be compatible with the peasants' rights.
Agroecology is a real solution to tackle the climate crisis and to move away from extracted fossils, fuel-based industrial system. It offers a holistic approach that integrates the ecological and regenerative principles into agricultural practices, promoting biodiversity, resilience, and sustainability. This model supports diversified farming system and stewards soil health, which is crucial in farming in a sustainable way. We demand that the health and environmental risk of nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, cognitive technology that are linked to the proposed bioeconomy should be critically assessed with the input of peasant and the small-scale food producers. Technology should complement rather than displace traditional and indigenous practices and always be developed with local communities involved to ensure it fits their needs. Peasants and farmers need to be in full control of all kinds of technologies, including the right to repair. Peasants and farmers need to have the right to decide for themselves if they want to adopt the new technology into their growing system and not to be put into using the corporate actors. In conclusion, call to action and vision to future. Together we can create a system that fits everyone, support biodiversity, grounded in principle of justice, ensure a fair and sustainable livelihood for all farmers and peasants. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Herzlichen Dank für die wichtigen Impulse.
Thank you very much for this valuable input, and it will be our pleasure to take that up in our work. Allow me to thank you on behalf of all of us for your commitment, and I wish you all the best of health, success, and